Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this evening, this beautiful evening. I tell you, I couldn't believe it. It was, 70-something degrees today? And who would have thought in Blowing Rock? Well, thanks for coming on this Tuesday evening, November 9th, 2021. If you would, roll call. Albert Yance. Here. David Harwood.
Yes.
Sue Sweeting.
Here.
And Doug Matheson.
Here.
Okay, all in attendance, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes, October 12th, 2021, regular and closed sessions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Albert? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Regular agenda adoption, there are two changes on this. North Carolina DOT, it was a misprint that went out over email. It said Spotlight Highway 321. It needs to read Stoplight 321. And also the LGC debt resolution, that was in reference to a property purchased by the town. We're going to have a special meeting on that issue November 23rd at 5:30 to have a public hearing on that, and we'll be addressing at that time. So that will be removed from the consent agenda. Okay? So, now, do I have a motion to approve the changed agenda, revised agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Doug first, Sue second. Albert? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Doug?
Here.
Okay.
Yes.
Now we're in our public comment section.
Consent. Consent.
Oh,
Sorry.
you want to do it? No, we've got it reversed. Okay, we're going to hold off on public comments till after consent. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as revised?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Albert? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to move into the public comment section. All right. If you would like to speak, please give Hillary your name and address and the issue that you would like to speak on. Now, keep in mind, the public hearing, the Scotchman SUP cannot be brought up during the normal public speaking. You'll have to speak on that later on. Okay. Lance Campbell. If you just step right over here. Sorry. Lance. And just state your address, full name for the record, please.
My name is Lance Campbell. I live at 1177 Green Hill Road in Blowing Rock. Mayor Sellers, Town Council, Town Manager Fox, thank you for the opportunity. I want to speak to the proposed stop sign, three-way stop sign at Green Hill Road and Fairway 11 Court. I read and reread Mr. Karpinski's summary from the Ramey Kemp Associates report and survey of last month's Town Council meeting addressing speeding, density, and safety concerns. Regarding speeding, the all-way stop control, stop signs, was considered as a speed countermeasure. But the manual on uniform traffic control devices, the reference that this traffic consultant used, said, quote, yield or stop signs should not be used for speed control, unquote. The speed limit on Green Hill is 25 miles per hour. The survey discovered that the northbound average speed was 24 miles per hour. Southbound, it was 26 miles per hour. Let's move to safety. At the intersections, and this is according to the report, again, I quote, minimum volume criteria for the all-way stop control device is unlikely to be met and may result in the stop signs effectively operating under yield condition or drivers ignoring stop altogether due to low traffic volumes on the side streets, unquote. The paucity of entering traffic encourages rolling stops or ignoring the stop sign. And there's evidence of that at Green Hill Road and Green Hill Circle stop sign that was installed about a year ago. In other words, gives a false sense of security for entering traffic, assuming the Green Hill Road traffic will stop at those stop signs. Under safety, let's move to crash data. The Blowing Rock Police Data Report over 8 years, from 2013 to 2020, discovered a single crash at that intersection in 2018. Factors were, it was at dawn, weather was a factor, and the driver overcorrected per the Blowing Rock Police Report. I and my wife, this is my wife's hometown, we lived one driveway away from that intersection for 24 years. We each exit that driveway probably more than once, but once a day for each of us. That would be 2, times 365 days, times 24 years. Surprisingly, 17,520 exits from the driveway. We've had no crashes, no near misses. I know the plural of anecdote is not data, but greater than 17,000 anecdotes is compelling. The report again, and I quote, finally, none of the intersections along Green Hill Road meet the minimum crash criteria outlined in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control necessary to warrant consideration of an all-way stop control device, unquote. So in summary, Green Hill Road, it's a meandering country road. It's got beautiful tree shading, lovely serpentine paths, and I look at it as form over function. So the Ramey Kemp Associates did not recommend it, and I respectfully do not support a 3-way stop sign at Green Hill Road and Fairway Court 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Tyler Bryson. Good evening, Tyler. How are you? Good evening. You have to state your name and address.
Tyler Bryson, 152 Hilltop Way. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I understand you will vote on a motion to lift the state of emergency mask mandate tonight. I'm hoping so. I strongly urge you all to vote in favor of lifting the current mask mandate. Let's let the people assess their own risk and have the freedom to determine themselves whether or not they want to wear a mask. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Sorry. All right. Pam Lowry. Yeah. Name and address, Pam.
Pam Lowry, 389 Fairway 11 Court. I hope this is the last time, and I'm sure you do as well, that I'm standing in front of you. I have spoken to you several times over the past 3 years about Green Hill Road and Fairway 11. Unlike the gentleman who spoke before me, I pull out into an intersection where I cannot see either way. And it is extremely dangerous for my neighbors and for my family. I have listened and read carefully the report, and even though it didn't say so in the written report, the man orally said that it's a dangerous intersection. He has put us on notice that it is a dangerous intersection, and he verbally said that we needed always stop there. I'm asking y'all to do that. I want you to vote yes to always stop at Fairway 11. It will, of course, need some kind of warning sign, either a signage or rumble strips or something, so that approaching traffic will know that those stop signs are there. With development currently on both ends of Green Hill, our road is only going to get worse. While the development is going to be very good economically for our town, I do want safety to be considered. It is the right thing to do for the residents of Blowing Rock and the residents of Green Hill to install this always stop. I told somebody the other day, I have worked on this for over 3 years. I don't know what else to say, and I appreciate those of you who've been communicating with me, and I appreciate those of you in the audience who have helped me with this, but I am asking you tonight to vote yes to an always stop at Green Hill Road and Fairway 11. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, Miss Nancy Collins. Evening, Nancy.
Good evening.
How are you?
Nancy Collins, 193 Edgewood Path, Blowing Rock, North Carolina, 28605. Mayor, Albert, David, Sue, Doug, Shane, Alan, Hillary, and audience. I would ask y'all tonight, if you're considering, again, the COVID, the mask mandate, the mandate for the employees, can you not drop all of that? COVID is not going away. COVID is here forever. It's not going to go away. We've already lost one town employee this year to suicide. Wintertime's coming, and we have been saddled with these masks all summer long. There are people that really can't take the injections, believe it or not, they really are. Go to the Mayo Clinic and you'll see. But I'm asking you, this is not your town or my town. It's our town. It's our town. Think of everybody's lives. I know you all have said that you're thinking about the safety of this town, but think of our town, all of us that live here, not just the tourists. Think of us. Take our word that we're ready for this to be over. COVID's going to be treated for years to come, just like the flu, because it is a flu. And I'm begging you, and I hate to grovel at your feet, but I'm asking you, please, take this mandate off of our employees for the testings, for the injections. We all live in a free country. We live in a free country. Let's make Blowing Rock a free town. Please, just take all of this away, and we'll really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Evan Light Eagles.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
I was getting nervous once I get up here.
Name, address?
Oh, Even Light Eagles. I live at 612 Ransom Street. Yeah. So I ran into David and Doug at the post office last week, and I had sent an email out to everyone, all the council members, asking about getting clarification on why the what they felt with M166. I gave them the right to impose laws that were, I believe, unconstitutional, and also to explain the specifics of why they're declaring the state of emergency so that I could address that. And that was not responded to at all. And so I was talking to them about it, and one of the things that Doug mentioned was he thought that y'all could do anything you wanted to when there was an emergency. And so this is some constitutional law that I want to read to you. It's very quick about that. So, okay. And I understand that you think you're operating in everybody's best interest, but I agree. It's our town, and everyone gets to make their own choices. I believe these medical mandates, all of them, are unconstitutional. So, Home Building and Loan Association versus Bladesell. It's 1934. Emergency does not create power. Emergency does not increase granted power or remove or diminish restrictions imposed upon granted or reserved power. The Constitution was adopted in a period of grave emergency. Its grants of power to the federal government and its limitations of the power of the states were determined in the light of emergency, and they are not altered by emergency. No human being in this country can exercise any kind of public authority which is not conferred by law.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eagles. Pat, is that Steve? Steve, good evening.
It's only because I
How
can
are
read
you?
a doctor.
Once again, name, address.
I got it.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve Iris, 9239 Valley Boulevard, Blowing Rock, which is the Green Park Inn. And being a good boy, I'm setting my own timer. And, I've been here, I've owned a major business in this town for 12 years, and I've come before this board 3 times asking for things in public meetings. Twice were against the fantasy hotel dreams of Steve Barker. You heard me and you granted his wishes, which have now, through the problems of Mr. Barker's $12 million debt, fallen through so far, thank God. The other time was about 2 years ago when they opened the new speedway on 321, and I came and I objected to the speeding and the dangerous intersections created by that speeding. And again, you listened to me. Unfortunately, that meeting ran until about midnight because Charlie wasn't here to run them and keep things down. But the fact of this consent agenda, and I'm sorry I didn't hear, but I'm assuming the stoplight is still on the consent agenda? Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't see this as an issue that has been given the proper transparency or discussion. For instance, I knew nothing about this, owning, again, a major business on the corner of Green Hill, where the spotlight is going. I really think that this was done sub rosa and quietly, and I understand why. I was a public official once myself. I understand why you want to hide certain things that you know are going to be controversial and try to push them through. I don't want to say in the darkness of night, but this should not have been put on the consent agenda as quickly and easily as it was. It should have been given transparency and public discussion, and that public discussion from our point, and I will make the point that that is far from a safe intersection, 321 and Green Hill. As far as I know, there has never been a traffic accident there since the speedway opened, but I still believe that there are many similar intersections with the same safety issues going all the way up 321 extension. And I think we should have had a review of all of those. It's great that DOT is going to put $250,000 on the table, but I really think we should have had a more open discussion. Having been in public service, I know the easiest thing to do when neighbors complain is give them a stop sign, because they like to give stop signs away like candy. It's no big deal. Traffic lights, though, they create a lot of issues. They cost a lot of money. And I vigorously object, as does Lori, who said I could take her 3 minutes, but I'm going to spare you that. I'm going to spare you that because she's very passionate about this. You know, when she saw people at the intersection having a discussion, she called me and said, call and see what the hell they're talking about. So I called, and one of you told me that they were discussing where to put a sign. Now, maybe it was a sign discussion, I don't know, but this is happening with no knowledge to us. I don't believe all of the council members, were aware of this until recently when it suddenly appears as a consent item on the agenda. And it's not right. It shouldn't be done this way. And this issue calls out for a proper traffic study of safety issues on that 321 Speedway, because people speed on it all the time. And Green Hill Road is not the only one where there are safety concerns about how you get on and across it. If you go to southbound on 321 around the Hampton Inn and you try to make the U-turn in the turning lane, you can't make it without either doing a three-point turn or jumping the curb and going on the sidewalk. And this is not right, and we should review all of these, and I will be the first to say if the traffic light kills the Green Park business, which it could do, that's a price that we would all have to pay for killing a member of the public. But that's not a reason. Oops, sorry.
Steve.
Anyway, that's what I have to say. It's on the consent agenda. I would ask that two of you, which I understand is what we need, vote to take it off the consent agenda, have a review of it. A few months more to do a proper study is not going to kill the deal. But let's see how we can best spend that money to make all of 321 safe or better. And if we need the light, we'll get the light. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Council, may I respond? Is that okay?
Okay with me.
The reason, what I wanted to say, I wanted to reassure Steve that the council nor myself were aware of what was going on until about 3-4 weeks ago. At such time, yes, there was about 3-4 weeks ago, there was safety engineers out there. And I don't think any of us felt like anything was going to take place. And but I just wanted to come up in the defense of the council because none of the council members were aware of this.
I'm not
This was a-
criticizing anyone in particular.
I know that, but this was
I
a,
had a hard time pulling out of that intersection when they first opened the highway.
Right.
And I am not a traffic engineer, but I concluded that Green Hill is not graded properly going up
Right.
to 321.
well, what I'd recommend,
They
Steve,
graded it off level, you can see. If you
What
go
I'd
to your
recommend-
car and look, you'll see everything.
Steve, what I'd recommend is Cully Tarleton has an open ear. I'd recommend talking to Cully. It's already been, we've already gone over the consent agenda and it's been approved. So, but that would be my suggestion, okay? Thank you.
Lori spoke to him for an hour and a half last night.
yeah.
I felt sorry for him.
Oh, okay. Thank you for coming, Steve. Thank you, council. Are they here to do the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a presentation coming up. Shane?
We do.
Lead it off.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Each year, one of the more exciting times, at least for myself and Ms. Norman, is the annual audit that takes place. This year, Martin Starnes and Associates, just like the previous 2 years, conducted the annual external audit of the financial statements and policies and procedures, internal controls of the town. And tonight, with Martin Starnes and Associates, is Ms. Carrie Dunlap, which is our audit manager. So, and she's here to do a presentation. Following Carrie's presentation, Ms. Norman would also like to present a few slides in relation to the audit and the outcome.
Thank you for coming, Ms. Dunlap.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, council.
Just a second. I will get it shared.
I'm glad that some people do get excited about the audit, like Shane with his background, because not very many people do. But thank you for allowing me to come share some results with you this evening. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. A few audit highlights. Unmodified opinion, that's the goal of the audit, that there's no materially misstated numbers in there. Cooperative staff, we really appreciate Nicole getting us everything we need timely. We were able to submit the audit prior to October 31st this year, so that was a big goal for both of us, and we're happy that we were able to do that. The general fund increased their fund balance by $921,000 this year. The slide mostly focuses on the general fund. So here's the general fund summary. Your 2021 numbers, that 10.7, that includes any transfers in, proceeds, that's all your other financing sources and uses in addition to the revenues. And that increased this year, as well as the expenditures increased a little bit over last year as well, and that includes any transfers out of the general fund. The total fund balance went from 6 million up to 7 million. It was an increase of 921,000. This slide shows you how much of that total fund balance is available as calculated by the LGC. So you have to back out any non-spendable items you have, such as inventory or prepaids, and then stabilization by state statute, that is by law required to be restricted. So your available fund balance was a little over 5 million, and that increased over last year by 322,000. This is the ratio that the LGC uses to compare you to other towns of your same population group. So you take the available fund balance number we discussed, and you divide it by your total expenditures and transfers out, also backing out any loan proceeds. So this gives you your ratio, and it went from 50.7 up to 52.8 this year. This is also just a graph showing you that same increase. The next three slides show you your top revenues. So of course, ad valorem taxes is the highest, and it went from 4.4 up to 4.7, which was an increase of about 278,000. The next highest is your unrestricted intergovernmental revenues, and those went up to 2.7, which was an increase of 281,000 this year. And the other taxes and license was the third largest revenue, and it went up to 1.6, which was an increase of 279,000. And this number does include all of your sales and use tax, your privileged licenses, and occupancy tax. The next three slides show your top expenditures and how those compared over the prior year. So the general government expenditure was the largest amount, and it went to 3.2, which was an increase of 332,000 this year. The next largest is the public safety, and it had a very small increase of 26,000. And then comes transportation, which increased slightly by 31,000. This slide also shows you how much money is going out for debt service, and it went up by 205,000 this year. This is a brief glimpse of your water and sewer enterprise fund. These are the numbers that the LGC uses to look at your enterprise funds in comparison to other similar towns with population groups. And so we're looking for a negative cash flow here with this top number, and as you can see, it went from 165, but it's still a positive 20,000, so that's not concerning. And then your unrestricted cash divided by total expenses, taking out depreciation and adding back in debt service principal, that percentage went from 16% up to 124%. And so this number, the LGC doesn't want it to go below 16%, which is roughly 2 months of expenditures. So that increase was definitely helpful to see. This is another ratio that the LGC uses. It's your quick ratio. It takes your current assets and current liabilities. And so anything that went below a 1 and was negative is something that you would receive a comment from the LGC on. So that went from 1 up to 5, which is a good increase. And then other general performance indicators that they use to compare numbers across towns and municipalities. There were no red flags this year, so that's obviously a great measure. Things that we just discussed, like if there was a negative number or the ratios were below the percentages they're looking for, that would have caused a red flag from this LGC data input. So that's what that means. And then there's also timely audit submission, which is a goal, and then stable property tax valuation and collection percentages are something else they're looking at, and then your water and sewer net income and cash to expense ratio. So there was nothing that's actually a new requirement by the LGC this year, is that your presentation has to be within 45 days of LGC submission. And they also, if there were any of these indicators that popped out, we were required to present them at the meeting. So it's a good thing that I'm telling you there weren't any. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions, guys?
You consider the town in good standing?
Yes, there's no indicators to have to warn you about, so.
We've established we want to be 50% or above, and this puts us there.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the lowest in North Carolina you've ever seen?
Oh, there's some that, I'm not familiar with them, but there's a few that someone has had to come in and take over because they weren't able to generate enough revenues to make it profitable, so.
The state mandate's 35%?
I think it's lower than that. Is it
20, 22.
So the state prefers to see 8% is one.
Oh,
So, yeah,
of
you're talking about the
expenses.
8% of expenses? Yeah, from fund balance, yeah, 8% is
8% is the minimum, and they want 16%, so anything above 16 is,
some reason I thought it was 35.
it might be a different measure. No problem.
Doug?
I got a couple, please, ma'am. Could you, just for me, elaborate a little bit on page 158 where it says TDA ABC audits not in accordance with standards?
TDA,
hang on a second.
is that referring to the TDA
Government.
audit is only a yellow book audit. It's not a gap audit, I believe is what that's referring to. So with the town, anytime there's more than 100,000 of single audit expenditures, you have to have well, depending on the feds and the states all have different thresholds, but the TDA, I believe, is below that audit, so that's why they're subject to a different standard than the town.
Page 158, Doug, is that what you?
Yes.
Hang on just a second, let me get that up, just to clarify.
It's the top, there, 158.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so it's because it's a yellow book only audit. It's not required to have UG standards or the state threshold. You have to have 500,000 of state expenditures to have a state single audit, and you have to have 750,000 to have a federal single audit. So they're below both of those thresholds.
Okay, thank you. And one other. Did you find any material weakness in our way of accounting, and what about an issue of a management letter?
We did not have any material weaknesses or a management letter this year. Nothing to report.
And the management letter?
We did not have to issue a management letter because that goes along with if you have findings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guys?
It was good for another $100,000.
Yeah.
Or 365 days, either way. Whichever comes first.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dunlap, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
we have Nicole next.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nicole, how are you this evening?
Hi, I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
Just a second, Nicole, I'll get you up and running here. There you go.
Does this have a laser?
It does.
This one?
Yep, that's it. Make sure it works.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, well, we don't usually, I'm not in control, okay. I'm good. We don't usually do this, but we kind of had the thought this year, especially when we were going into budget season, so many, especially revenues, were unknown, and we were sort of, wondering where a lot of things were going to end up. And so, everybody's familiar with our budget graphs. Now we kind of use those every year to show, it's just a great visual of the expenditures, different areas of expenditures and what piece of sort of the whole pie those represent, in addition to our revenues and what sort of, can y'all understand me? Do you need me to? Okay, I'll continue like this. And those revenues and what piece of the revenue pie those also represent. So we decided to put together this year our graph, our pie chart of our revenues, our actual revenues per the audit. So you can see property tax came in and it represented 44% of our total revenue. Total revenues was $10,742,968. Occupancy tax and sales tax represent the next highest areas of revenue for us as we close the year. Occupancy tax was 15%, $1,656,535, while sales tax was 20%, $2,192,176. And I will say those two areas were our hardest to predict. We started the year, really kind of trying to, aim low and brace ourselves in case they came in very low, because early projections were telling us that. But they actually came in slightly higher than usual. This is a look at our expenditures in the general fund. Total expenditures in the general fund came in $9,821,606. You can see general government, this is our central government, came in at 31%. Probably the next highest area is going to be our finance, and then police, fire, Parks and Rec, public buildings. I will say that I kind of wanted to preface all of this. I started to do a comparison to our budget kind of pie chart to our actual pie chart, and I would caution against doing that, just in case anybody in the general public looks at it and says, oh, let me compare how we budgeted to our actuals. They're done on two different bases of accounting. So budgeting is based on the Local Government Fiscal Control Act, while our financial statements are according to GASB. So they're going to look different. So that's just a word of caution if you're kind of doing that comparison. This is a look at our water sewer fund on the revenue side. So you can see water sewer fund revenues came in $1,820,348. This is largely water charges of 49% with sewer charges of 39%. That is the majority of the fund. We did have our impact fee charges coming up 2% and 3%. Those were up also in comparison to prior years. Moving on to the expense side, probably the simplest chart, which is only 3 departments in our water sewer fund. We have total expenditures of $2,055,066. That's 48% administration. This is where all of our debt service is paid out of, property and liability insurance for the fund. And then field operations at 16% and plant operations at 36%. So if you net the revenues and expenditures, final revenues and final expenditures for the general fund and for the water sewer fund, that is where you can see our contribution to fund balance that Carrie mentioned earlier. On the general fund side, $921,362, and on the water sewer side, there was a net operating loss of $234,718. We have increased water sewer rates in response to that net operating loss, and we look forward to positivity going forward. That's all that I have, and if you have any questions.
Do you have any questions for Nicole?
Yes, is it too early to tell how our new water schedule is playing out?
It is at the present moment. Next month, we will be able to tell because the billing fell just a few days outside of where it did last year. So we weren't in line with last year because of that. But next month, we will know how that's going for us.
Robert?
Did we buy any water from Boone this year?
No.
No, sir.
We got close? Did we get close?
We did not get close. We discussed the possibilities, I think, once or twice with some drought measures, but we did not get close to buying water.
I've always looked at an audit as a report card, and obviously both of you got A+.
Thank you.
So congratulations, and thank you.
Good job, guys.
A lot of work, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, I would add just my appreciation to Nicole for putting together this audit, putting the work that went into preparing for the external auditors and obviously the report itself. No doubt, if you go back to June 30th, as you rolled into fiscal year 2021, July 1st of 2020, we had a ton of unknowns and uncertainties at the time. That budget itself had to be one of the more challenging budgets, I'm sure, with every town and local government across the country to put together. And to see these types of outcomes is a testament, I think, to, one, obviously how busy the town has been, a number of folks here, but through all that, through the changes, to still have a clean report, to have no findings, to have no material weaknesses, to have no management letter recommendations. And I think it's fair to say in a time in which the state is asking for those to be really clarified and really spotlight shined on those, for us to have none is just a testament to Nicole and her entire staff for putting together the work that you see here. So I say thank you to them and the work that you see before you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, moving along. Scotchman, SUP, public hearing. Mr. Rothra.
We'll have an opportunity for some people to be sworn in, I think. I know
Go ahead and do
most
that.
people are
If you would like to speak on this particular public hearing, you would need to be sworn in.
Do we need to accept the audit?
Do we need to make
Do
a
not.
specific?
Do not.
Anybody?
We do. I believe we have 2 online. Is that correct?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think,
the developers.
I think the project engineer
Yeah.
and the developer for the applicant. And then maybe somebody here. Bill Lindsay, do you want to speak? Anybody else want to speak here?
Yep. Okay, all right, yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give to this body in this manner being heard shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Being sworn in too, don't they? Okay, and the applicant and the engineer need to be sworn in as well.
Okay. Do you both solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give to this body in this matter being heard shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
He acknowledged he did.
Okay,
All right.
let's go for it, Kev.
Okay. This is special use permit 2021-06, and we call it the Old Scotchman, the retail opportunity there, and the applicant is High Country Manor. And they're requesting this special use permit to renovate the Old Scotchman at 7815 Valley Boulevard and for the use of a retail beer and wine shop. The parking area is being redesigned and the roof is being modified along with other changes to the front facade. Property is on general business and is located in the water supply watershed. The proposed site is a redevelopment of the former Scotchman gas station and convenience store. The property was purchased by DOT with the 321 widening project. After the road was completed, the property was placed on the real estate market and purchased by Britt Medley. For the proposed retail use, 15 parking spaces are required, and the applicant is providing 15 spaces, with one of those being ADA accessible. Access to the parking lot will utilize the existing driveway cuts on Valley Boulevard, but will be limited to one-way traffic flow from the south end to the north. So the intersection, the driveway cut nearest to the light, and then they'll go out to the other side. Go ahead and pull up that one site plan, it'll be helpful, please. The applicant is proposing a beer and wine retail store. If the proposed use is unsuccessful, other similar uses would be allowed in the general business district with the parking being provided. Other uses might include a convenience store, general retail with high volume traffic, which is what this is being proposed as, low volume traffic, which would be furniture, appliances, antiques, those type of uses, and then also office uses. And the staff recommends that any changes to use from the proposed beer and wine sales be allowed with a zoning permit if the required parking needs are met, and this is specified in condition 4 of the special use permit. The development of the site will result in reduced impervious surfaces through the additional landscaping placed in areas previously paved. Additional drainage pipes will be installed to pick up the water that collects in the rear of the building. They've had a water problem back there in the past, and they're going to pull that around and connect that to the DOT catch basin out on the corner of 321. As far as landscaping, there'll be at least 5 shade trees added to the site in addition to other shrubs and plantings to improve the property appearance from what it is today. Let's go to the architectural view of that, Shane. So this is the facade that's being proposed, be renovated by removing the current parapet roof and constructing a new roof, 2 garage doors proposed on each side of the building, each sides of the front of the building, and 2 shed dormers, and then there'll be a middle entry structure with stone columns at the entrance, as you can see there. You go to the next one that shows both of those, the current and then the proposed, if you will. Existing stone of the building will remain, and building colors will be complementary to that stone that's there. And there is a little area where the building, about over this area, encroaches into the side setback on Sunset, but they're really just taking that roof off and putting another roof back on. There's no increase in square footage, so no increase in the nonconformity. I think it's a pretty good improvement over a building that's long overdue. So with that said, the planning board recommended approval of the project as submitted. And we, even from planning board, we worked with the architect and the applicant to make a few other tweaks to what was previously submitted. And so I think it looks even better than what went to planning board. Draft special use permit was attached in your packet. We've shown you the site plan and the architectural front. So at this time, I'll be glad to answer questions, and the applicant and Patrick Warren, the engineer, are online for us.
Kevin, is that upstairs or upper part going to be used attic as a storage or anything?
No, I think it's just a
decoration. Or
decoration. We can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it's just a facade to be built across the front.
Is there going to be any change to the back?
No, the roof will be continuous, so it's not just a parapet. It will have a peak on the ridge line and go off the backside. But as far as the back, painting it and stuff like that.
The stone, will it go all the way around?
I'm not familiar with the
I didn't
back.
see a back elevation. That's
Right, I didn't have one.
Okay.
We would certainly make them paint to be consistent across the back. No plans to add stone to the rear, no.
Okay. And will there be tables inside? Or is it specifically, you go in, you buy your beer, you buy your wine, and you take off?
My understanding is just for retail buying. Now, they could do tasting, but they're not serving, there's no indication they're going to serve food. But
Okay.
if they want to do tasting of wine, things like that. But not planning to be any tables outside. That's prohibited in the special use permit.
Okay.
But
What about food trucks? Can you give the guidelines for the food trucks for the town?
no food trucks unless it's a special event. A special event
Yeah.
sanctioned by the town or approved by the town.
And then could Mr. Warren discuss the restrictions on the property by DOT for soil mediation?
Yes, it's my understanding from all the documents that I have reviewed from when Mr. Brett Nedley purchased the property from the DOT, they submitted everything to him that all of the environmental issues, but there are no environmental issues on the site. Mr. Nedley's bank also required an environmental assessment of the property prior to closing, and it came up clean too.
Thank you.
Counsel?
Kevin, I've got a couple of questions. Can you comment on the lighting, exterior lighting? Are we adding coach lights or?
Any lights that they add would be coach lights. It's pretty well lit now, but if they need any specific lights, it would be the new style coach light with the full cutoff lens.
The existing site lighting would be removed?
On the right.
Well, you talking about the old gas pump light?
No, there's one over on the right, there's one over on the left.
Right. The one on the right, that old pole, that'll be removed.
Okay.
I don't recall any other lights, but
I think there's another one like that on the left.
yeah, those will be gone.
Good.
Those will be gone.
What is the width of the landscape buffer at 321? And where I'm going with that is, does it meet the 8-foot average width?
Here. That's Patrick.
Patrick would have to, Patrick, can you comment on that question by David, the width of that buffer?
Yes, David, I'm gonna pull up my CAD drawing. I think it averages about 8 feet, David.
Okay.
Let me, I've got a hard copy, but I don't have scale in front of me.
Patrick, I'll mention this, when you first submitted that design, there were pull-in spaces, and then we changed those to parallel spaces to give some more width, and we had sufficient room for an aisle, and since we were going to a one-way, we had even more. So we widened that, I think it was to at least 8 feet, and changed it to 2 parallel spaces.
Yeah, I've got this.
You got that?
If you go from the property line to the pavement, it's about 8.5 feet at the north end and 7.5 feet at the south end. But if you go to the back of the sidewalk, it adds another 2.5 feet to it. So at the top, it's 11.1 feet, and at the bottom, it's a 9.8 feet at the bottom, if you go all the way to the back of the sidewalk.
Thank you, Patrick. And then there's mechanical units, HVAC, located in the setbacks. Are those existing to be removed, or is the mechanical equipment going on the roof? I'm trying to get a handle on where those units are going to be located.
They can be where they are. They can be in the setback. But I think those are, well, Patrick could address that, whether or not those are the existing units that are out there. Would not be.
I would assume that, well, we're going to have to, the one to the south at the rear of the building, we're going to have to take out, get the storm drainage in. Those units are old and they're going to have to be replaced. Whether those would be on the north end of the building where they could be screened, or if it is the back of the building, I'd have to check with the architect, but they will have to be replaced.
Okay. And the last thing I had, Kevin, was can you enlighten us a bit on high volume versus low volume uses?
High volume is just standard retail, walk in, lots of things, a lot of traffic.
And this would be categorized as high.
This would be high, yes. Like a convenience store, so that it rates the type of parking you got to have. A convenience store, and is one space for 200 square feet, so is high volume retail. Low volume is 1 per 400 square feet, like big bulky items, furniture, things like that. People don't visit as often. Low volume.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Council? Would the other individuals that were sworn in like to say anything moving forward?
Oh, I did.
Oh, yes, David.
Just as a clarification, the glass shown here, it looks reflective, but is it reflective? What is it clear? Is it
I don't know.
Dark?
I don't know.
David, I would assume that's just for the rendering.
Right.
That would be clear glass.
Okay.
I would imagine it would be somewhat tinted.
As long as it's not reflective.
Yeah, not reflective. But
Now-
if this answer helps you, no, it will not be reflective.
That's what I'm going at.
Okay.
The gas tanks were taken care of by DOT.
Yeah, the tanks were removed several years ago.
All right. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Albert? Close the public hearing. Yes?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we've closed the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve special use permit on the Old Scotchman retail
Okay.
as presented.
We have a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Who seconded?
Dave.
David? Okay. Thanks, David. Albert? David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Yeah, have a great, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
That will look better.
All right, under regular agenda, Fairway 11, Green Hill Road. We have a presentation, I believe. Do we?
No, sir, no presentation, just regular agenda item.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you recall, last month, October the 12th, at the regular Town Council meeting, Michael Karpinski, Traffic Engineering Project Manager for Ramey Kemp and Associates, presented the results of the Green Hill Traffic Study. Mr. Karpinski reviewed traffic data along with the survey results and discussed the on-site visits that resulted in the final report. During his presentation, Town Council asked several questions. One of those was in which if additional stop signs were to be placed along Green Hill Road, in what location or locations would Ramey Kemp recommend the additional intersection stops. Mr. Karpinski informed the council that he would recommend the first location to place an additional three-way stop would be at Green Hill Road and Fairway 11 Court. If you recall, his actual first location was at Wonderland Trail and Green Hill, which is outside of the town limits. It's within the DOT jurisdiction. So within the town limits, his first recommendation would be at Green Hill Road and Fairway 11 Court. Mr. Karpinski mentioned that he selected this location because of the similar intersection design of Green Hill Traffic Circle and Green Hill Road to Fairway 11 Court, i.e. line of sight, traffic, etc. Mr. Karpinski discussed the terrain, the number of homes located along Fairway 11 and Fairway 12, and the higher traffic counts at this intersection compared to other intersections along Green Hill Road. And those factors led to his recommendation. I would add that he went further in explaining that traffic stop signs and three-way stops, et cetera, were not, in his opinion, best utilized for speeding, but for safety measures. In this case, that was why the recommendation at Fairway 11 Court, similar to Green Hill Green Hill Circle, was a recommendation and was due to the fact that he felt like it was a safety concern for the residents pulling out of Fairway 11 Court and Fairway 12 Court. So from that last month's presentation, I present to you tonight a request to potentially take action regarding establishing a three-way stop at the intersection of Fairway 11 Court and Green Hill Road. I included in the packet the study, which was finalized after last month's meeting. I put here with pictures of intersection of Fairway 11 and Green Hill Road, and be more than happy to pull up the GIS or Google. I do not have those pictures, could not get those to load if anyone would like to look at the aerial view of that, but be more than happy to answer any questions. I've also spoken to Police Chief Aaron Miller and Public Works Director Matt Blackburn about the potential of putting a three-way stop here, and would be more than happy to answer any questions you have regarding this topic.
Council?
Is it also, are we going to ask the Parkway about Wonderland Trail and Green Hill Road?
We would ask the DOT, so that is DOT's jurisdiction. I've spoken to Mr. Ray Pickett, who has assured me, I believe, that he is going to speak to the DOT about potentially adding an additional three-way stop at Green Hill and Wonderland Trail. We did approach the DOT quite some time ago about potentially placing a stop sign there. A lot of the same data that was presented within the traffic study with the MUTC data was also used or utilized in essentially rejecting putting a stop sign there. So we requested, or I requested through Mr. Pickett, again, from a safety standpoint, the addition of adding a three-way stop at Green Hill and Wonderland Trail as well.
Okay, good.
Does the always stop, will that also include distance ahead plaques and traverse rumble strips?
It does not currently include rumple strips. So rumple strips were a part of the Ramey Kemp report as being potential recommendations to alert drivers. We have not utilized those previously. It would require, and we would establish stop ahead signs similar to what we have, now on that Green Hill Circle with flags located at the top of those, a safe distance. Similar to, again, what we had placed a couple years ago or 3 years ago now to Green Hill Circle as well.
Could you indicate what the issue is with rumble strips, please?
The concern with rumble strips, and this was a discussion that I had with Ramey Kemp, was one, obviously it alerts the drivers to something ahead or something that's taking place. There is a noise factor within those rumble strips, which is a concern, at least internally, from a staff standpoint, of adding any additional noise issues there. Green Hill, similar to a lot of our residential roads, have homes very close proximity to the road itself, and so we have not discussed it any further or researched any further putting those rumble strips out at this point. We have discussed adding additional signage, obviously, for the new traffic stop and continuing to do a good job of keeping our paintings and things of that nature up along the lines, the strips and things of that nature to let folks know where the stop ahead signs are.
Thank you.
The main thing through there is the lights because of the fog, and like you said, keeping that road striped good.
Absolutely.
Council? Like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we put a three-way stop there with signal lights, signal ahead lights to let you know that there's a stop sign ahead.
Second.
Okay, now your motion was, Doug, to have lighted signage?
To have, yeah, like what we do up here because I don't think you can see it if you don't have a light in a caution light type thing that lets you know that there's a stop ahead.
We currently do not have that on Green Hill. We don't, not Green Hill Circle. You mean a flashing, similar to what we have on 321, or something with a stoplight?
But you've got a stop ahead sign.
We have stop ahead signs with the flags, not with the lights. Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to change your motion?
Yeah, we'll go with the flags for now. I just worry sometimes about the fog up there.
Okay, your motion is to approve with proper signage.
Right, proper warning
of the stop signs. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. And any further discussion?
Just say to Pam that no matter what you say, I've missed you.
Pam ain't going nowhere.
I'll find something else.
Albert, how do you plead?
Doug Madison told me one day if I was anything, I was persistent.
David?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Doug?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. All right, moving right along. Retreat date and location. Now, we were going to have this retreat in Saudi Arabia, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So each year, we are fortunate enough to have the commitment from the council to spend 3 days in the month of January, normally, conducting town business and discussing the upcoming year and years of information, putting together our list of priorities. In 2019, the winter retreat was held at Brom for the first time, I think, in several years. Previous to that, it had been held at Asheville. And the last year we held it here at Town Hall. Obviously, during COVID, things were quite different. Town staff looked at the calendars, and the second week in January is a normal town council meeting. The third week, Monday, is Martin Luther King date. And so staff would recommend the dates of January the 24th, 25th, and 26th, which is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to hold the retreat, with the location to be discussed and determined if the dates are satisfactory to you all tonight is a little unusual, obviously, with the election that happens every 2 years, not for everyone to be seated up here that will be taking place in the retreat. Some are in the audience tonight, but it is important for us to go ahead and establish those dates and location, if possible, to obviously plan ahead for town staff preparation and then obviously for the public itself who may want to attend.
Council?
Suits me.
Okay, David? Is that- Doug?
Yeah, I'm glad we moved it off Martin Luther King Day so they can enjoy their 3-day weekend.
And, okay.
That's the where. The where now.
Ron?
So location would be obviously within town or outside of town, number one, and then within town or outside of town, the location to be determined at that point.
Yeah. We'll let Shane take care of that. Okay?
Oh, that's fine.
We'll have you in driving distance.
I thought you were going to have it at the Rock with steaks to order on you.
I don't think so.
If satisfactory to the council, I would recommend another year at least until we move forward with having it here within the town. We utilized Brom 2 years ago. If that facility is available, we'd recommend utilizing that facility as well.
Okay. And in all due respect, I know you're not on council, but Melissa, you feel like that'll work for you? And Pete? Okay. And have a motion on that one, Doug or Albert? Approve the dates?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Albert?
Yes.
Sue? And Doug?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, moving right along. COVID update.
I don't think she's ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short recess, 15 minutes. We're waiting on Jennifer Green to get on so she can give us an update with the state and the county. Okay, so we'll take a 15-minute recess. So we'll be back in here in about 7:21. let's move on here. Any luck with Jennifer Green yet? Okay. Jennifer Green is still in a meeting, and the council would like her input on this, since she is over the health department. So what we're going to do is, if I may ask the council's permission, vary a little bit on the agenda and go to official reports and comments. That it would allow Jennifer Green more time to get on. Are you all amenable to that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go on to official reports and comments and then come back to the COVID update from there. Okay. Let's see. All right. Mayor, I guess I got to go first. Everyone's, I guess, heard Papa Joe's closed. Icon in the community, and I think Joe and Cindy did a great job and contributed a lot to the community, and I personally, as mayor, wish them the best, and as a citizen, I wish them the best, and they will be missed. And gosh, it's, that's been a place that's been nice to go to in the mornings and get some good breakfast, but along with all the others. But that being said, on, I think it was October 21st, we had the water main break on Ransom. I went down there and there was, I couldn't believe it. There was a river going down Ransom Street. And our Public Works Department jumped up to the plate. And Matt over Public Works had just been in surgery a few days before that, and was recuperating. Needless to say, he was out there working with the guys. And I tell you, we have, they got it fixed by early that morning. We lost about 2 million gallons of water, but we made it. And thank you to all the citizens and the businesses for their patience, because it was an inconvenience for a few of them. I think Sue had to buy bottled water. Is that correct, Sue?
That is correct.
Okay. But, our departments in our town are second to none, and I want to thank all of them. They do a great job. I want to thank all the voters that turned out on November 2nd. It was very good to see all the people come out and speak their piece in whatever manner that they so choose. And I think it's important that you do that. That's a privilege. And then last but not least, we received a letter. This is from Rolf Thorson. And this was to Chief Miller, and it was, my reasons for writing are twofold. First, to formally thank Police Officer Daniel Harris and Sharon Van Dyke for their assistance to my wife, Kathy, and I earlier today. And secondly, to recognize their department and representation of the town of Blowing Rock, as well as the police department. At 2:30 p.m. on Monday, November 1st, 2021, Kathy and I contacted the Blowing Rock Police Department after we exited the woods following a long hike and found ourselves stranded in our vehicle alongside the road adjacent to Bass Lake. Now, out of provisions and with our small dog in tow, imagine our anxiety when the roadside assistance we subscribed to told us the soonest they would be able to send someone to provide us with a jump start would be sometime after 5. I immediately began asking any passerby if they had jumper cables, and it was not long before more than one resident advised me to call the police department non-emergency number. When I expressed a bit of skepticism, an older gentleman and his wife reminded me, up here, and depending upon the circumstances or time of the year, a dead battery can quickly escalate into a public safety issue. Chief, your departments, Sharon Van Dyke, simply could not have been more pleasant, proficient in determining our exact location, and Police Officer Harris arrived in what was measurable in seconds, more so than minutes. Upon his arrival, Police Officer Harris exuded professionalism as he assessed the situation and effectively had us safely on our way again in mere minutes. Chief, it is not an imposition. If it is not an imposition, please do convey our thanks, admiration, and gratitude to both Police Officer Daniel Harris and Sharon Van Dyke. We honestly are not sure how things would have eventually unfolded as darkness enveloped Route 221. Your department and the town's leadership not being so responsive had your department and the town's leadership not been so responsive and competent. This gentleman is was with the 230th session, the FBI National Academy, alumni, Johns Hopkins University. So, thank you, Chief, wherever you are. Thank you, officers. Once again, thank you. I don't guess the chief wanted the FBI looking into him. All right. Albert.
I'd just like to invite everybody this Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Legion Building to come to the Veterans Day 2 days late ceremony. We're going to have the gentleman named Major General Charles Swanick. He's a North Carolina native. You've all seen him on TV when he was the commander of all troops in Iraq. He also commanded the 82nd Airborne, where he made more than 1,000 jumps himself. He commanded all U.S. troops in Germany. He's been commander of the Arlington National Cemetery, and we're very lucky to have a gentleman like this. So I invite you all to come.
At what time, Albert?
11.
Okay.
You go on at 11:15.
Okay.
Better be there.
With his welcome.
So my comments are off the cuff, and I don't have anything prepared. I wanted to thank Nancy Collins and Sue Sweeting for participating in the election last week. I appreciate your willingness to serve, and it says a lot about your character to do that. So thank you. I want to say congratulations to Melissa Pickett and to Doug Matheson and Pete Guarini. I look forward to working with you at least for 2 years. That's all that's guaranteed right now. And then I wanted to give a really heartfelt thank you to Sue Sweeting. This is my last full meeting with you, and it has been an honor and a privilege. And I appreciate everything you've done for our county and our municipality, and I really appreciate your leadership, and even more so, I appreciate your friendship.
Thank you. That's sweet. Oh.
Here, here.
Well, thank you. That's very touching. And because he's on my left, and has been on my left for a long time, 8 years, I want to congratulate Doug Matheson. He received the High Country Council of Governments Award, Outstanding Local Elected Official, which is a very big deal. So congratulations, Doug. That's all.
That's all the sweetness.
It's all about you.
Doug?
I too would like to thank everyone for coming out at the election, and I would love to thank everybody for their participation in that. We had then we're trying to kill some time. We had, for the first time at ASU Leadership Breakfast over on campus, and for the first time it felt great. We had every one of the town council members there. So Blowing Rock was well represented there. We made, it's a good time to make some connections. It's a good time to get to talk, and with other counties, other council members. We met the new mayor, Boone. He's wanting to come over sometime and actually visit us, and so it was a very enjoyable morning. So I'd like to mention that. We took the apple cart signs down today, so the apple carts are done for this year, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. And just to let you know, I've got a league finance committee meeting next week, and then I got a league board of directors meeting the week after, and so I'll have those reports to give to y'all at the December's meeting. And like I said, David said pretty much what I was going to say. For 8 years, I've had you right here, and that's going to be hard to get used to. So
You won't have to wear your hearing aids.
I know. Who am I going to do?
Thank you, Doug. Alan?
I did get a text that said almost, so.
Okay, good.
She's almost ready. Hopefully that's soon, so I will try to give a pretty thorough update here. I did have a long list. I was afraid that I wouldn't get a chance to get to it, so shocking enough, I'm able to go through all of it tonight. I'll start by echoing a couple comments. The water leak took place leading up to one of our busiest weekends of the year, and I think everyone was aware of that. That Thursday night, it was around 4 a.m., I think, when the Public Works team finally was able to finalize the repair. It was a large main that did lose almost 2 million gallons of water and did wash out a driveway or two in the process. But a lot of things hinged on that repair obviously taking place and the timing of that, from restaurants being open, hotels, et cetera, the school itself being open the next day. So my thank you to Public Works, as always, for sticking it out literally through the night and getting the repair done that took place around, I think, 4 or something that afternoon. So 12 hours later, it was repaired. The group did stay all night. Mr. Blackburn did stay with them after not essentially being allowed to be there on, I think, his 3rd day of recovery after surgery. But just kudos to that group, as always. And then thank you to everyone that obviously came out and voted. From my perspective, working with these individuals on a daily basis is nothing short of a privilege. And thank you, Ms. Sweeting, for the last 2.5 years of my tenure here. And congratulations, Doug and Charlie and Pete and Melissa. Look forward to working with you all, hopefully for a long time. My update for tonight, I'll start with saying we have discussed 321. Last month, we had a petition presented with 321 issues, speeding, noise, et cetera. Ms. Laura Bingham and Lori Mulhern of the Green Park Inn, and I participated in a Zoom call last Friday with Mark Ezell, who's the director of Governor Highway Safety Program, about potentially some additional grants or some assistance that's out there that we may be eligible for. This is the same program that Chief Miller mentioned last month that we will be applying very soon for additional officers. That's the staggered salary approach of 100% 80, 60, 40. This individual, Mark Ezell, is the director of that program. So thank you to Ms. Bingham and Ms. Mulhern for allowing the connection and the Zoom call that took place last Friday. Bass Lake Sidewalk, I think, has been talked about for 6 years. Ms. Sweeting, I know this is near and dear to your heart. I have been assured that it will be completed prior to your exit in December. Well, there was a meeting that took place yesterday with the contractor. We are being told that they are just days, if not a couple weeks from completion. So that would put them in line for your December meeting, of potentially having a ribbon cutting. So let's keep our fingers crossed that project will come to an end. I know it's been near and dear to your heart as well. Landscaping at Fire Station 1, talking about projects that have been talked about for a number of years. The rocks have been delivered. They're at our laydown yard on 321. The landscaping should begin next week, weather permitting, of course, including the flagpole as installation. So over the next couple weeks, you'll see some activity in front of Fire Station 1 that will include the flagpole. Mr. Yount, that thing's been talked about for maybe as long as the Bass Lake sidewalk, maybe longer. I'm not sure of the timeline of that.
It's way back.
So perhaps we can have 2 ribbon cuttings with the Bass Lake sidewalk and the fire station both being completed. Crosswalks, Greens Construction, if you recall, was the bid winner for the crosswalks at Main Street and Sunset, 221 and Main Street, along with Chestnut. Signals have been ordered, shop drawings have been submitted to DOT. The projection there after our pre-construction meeting is to begin that project, which is a fairly short project, more than likely the week after Winterfest, which will be the first week in February. Start with the demo, conduit, et cetera, being laid and installed, and then concrete work just as soon as weather would permit. Again, that's a short project that would be a spring project. So completion date would be prior to, obviously, summer months getting here with the crosswalks. Signals, though, are probably the longest part of that, about a 10 or 12 week turnaround on those signals themselves, as they have to be custom ordered. I'd also like to mention that the ABC board, over the last couple weeks, announced an additional $50,000 to be distributed to the town. Obviously, the ABC board has had a record year, like a lot of folks up here have, and they continue to. If you saw your staff report, topping $300,000 in sales, which is the first time in a long time, I believe, that has been accomplished. So thank you to the ABC board. $300,000 last month. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, it's just $300,000 last month. But thank you to the ABC board for the additional $50,000 distribution that took place, I believe, 2 weeks ago now. Also like to mention on October 22nd, the Embers Hotel project, formerly the Rainey project, did indeed follow through with the requirements, and a building permit has been issued for that project as of October 22nd. Just a couple things. I know Ms. Green is on here, so that's exciting news. I'd like to show you just a couple pictures, if you will allow me to. I think these are 2 exciting things, and then we will go on to, let's see if we can't mute Mr. Graham here. There we go.
He's on there twice.
He's on there twice somehow. So share a couple pictures with you. So if you recall our chemical tanks here, and I realize that's obviously misspelled on here, I see now, but if you recall, and this picture is a little difficult to see, our chemical tanks at our water plant had some issues over the years, corrosion and things of that nature. This is not as bad as it really does look. This is caustic and some other chemicals. You know better than anyone the names of these chemicals, and this is what it can do with just a small leak that takes place. This was taken about a year ago, the second one as well, with a little sideways here, but it shows some of the leaking that had taken place. And over the years, this is what happens with caustic and some of these chemicals, allium and a number of things at the water plant. And I did spoil it by clicking on the wrong one, but here is today's picture. This was taken this morning at the water plant. Obviously a much different picture. So this project was approved by you all. Obviously much safer. You can see the tanks obviously here now 4 tanks versus 2. Not in this picture, we do have a bay door there, a garage door that rolls up that allows for easy access into the basement that did not exist previously. Previously it was just a standard metal door. I'll share a picture next month with the door itself as it's being completed. But yeah, unbelievable transformation obviously to the basement of the water plant and the chemicals that are utilized to treat all of our water on a daily basis. Second piece that I'd like to share, and this is something that is brand new, the TDA made a decision in the last month to purchase 2 cameras. So previously the resort cams, and the resort cams are still in operation, had been very heavily trafficked. We receive calls almost daily when the camera is down. And so the TDA had a discussion, Director Brown had a discussion about purchasing cameras that the TDA and the town would own. And yesterday, Mr. Steele and Mr. Brown climbed to the roof of this building and placed 2 cameras on the chimney, one facing on Main Street and one facing the park. And those 2 cameras will soon be streamed on our website along with the TDA and the Chamber website. And these are live cameras. Mr. Steele, Thomas Steele, captured just 2 quick snippets of what the camera looked like today. Again, it's not live, but it will be in the coming weeks. Here is an example of the Main Street cam from today, and it shows obviously the clarity of what this camera will look like, and this will be a full 24/7 live stream camera. So pretty impressive technology and clarity being provided here. And then the second camera, if you will allow, will show the park, which is not something we've done previously, but allows a view of our park. So I think you all can see the sunset there as it was going down this evening, and just an unbelievable setting that can be shared with our locals and our tourists and whomever else out there that has access to the web.
Did you make note that these are infrared cameras?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, these cameras may be used in further investigation. Can't comment on what the potential would be for that. And then the last piece that I'd like to share is just a couple quick dates. I know some things were mentioned earlier. This time of year is the busiest time of year, obviously, for the town, and a number of events and things of that nature. Obviously, this Thursday is Veterans Day, and the town hall is closed. This Saturday at the Legion at 11 a.m. is the town's Veteran Day celebration that Mr. Yount spoke of earlier. Planning board normally is on a Thursday. Due to the state of the town, planning board will now be Monday, November the 15th at 5:30. State of the town is Thursday, November the 18th at 5:30 at the American Legion. Planning board will be here, as always. Planning board normally is on the 18th, or will be on the 18th. It's now on the 15th. State of the town is Thursday, November the 18th at 5:30 at the American Legion. That will be live and streamed. We will have a special meeting on Tuesday, November the 23rd at 5:30 to discuss the Barry Buxton property purchase and debt. Thanksgiving holiday for the town office to be closed is Thursday the 25th and 26th. Lighting in the town is on Friday the 26th, as it normally is the day after Thanksgiving. Santa will be here starting at 1 o'clock that day in the park. We will have bands starting at 2 that will go through 6:30. The lighting itself, Mayor Sellers, will be at 5:30-ish like it normally is. We will have hot drinks and cider and coffee and things served versus the park, because we will have activities and games in the park. They'll be served from the police department parking lot. And hay rides as well, starting at 3 p.m. that day, with games, as I mentioned, throughout the park at 3 to 5. We fully expect an unbelievable crowd, as it has been now for the last couple of years. With the parade concluding that weekend of activities, at least for the town's perspective, Saturday the 27th at 10 a.m. So just note that, again, as with the July 4th parade, the parade is now at 10 a.m., not 2 p.m. That allows for us to close the street to parking the night before. Starting around 2 a.m., we'll go out and start placing those cones and allow for the parade to take place at 10 a.m. Roughly 11 a.m., we should have the street back open, just like we did on July 4th weekend, and open to traffic and parking, et cetera. So those are my updates. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shane. All right, moving back to the original agenda, we have Miss Green on the line.
Yes.
Good evening, Miss Green. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Jen, would you like to share the screen? I've given you access to it if you would like to.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'll just jump right in with an update and see if you can see my slides okay. Hopefully, you can see them.
We can.
Thank you for having me back. I hope you all are doing well. Very excited to see us going into holiday season, and thankful for all of our veterans as we get to celebrate this week. So just want to say thank you all for having me back. I have a few slides to update you on where we are. The good news is we're heading in the right direction. We're not quite there yet, but we are certainly making some good progress. So this first slide shows you a picture of community transmission across all counties in North Carolina, or in the United States, excuse me. And what's positive here is, in the past, when we look at this map, it's been all red. So what you can see is that counties are starting to see a decline in their transmission, and the transmission is really measured in a couple of ways. So there's really a color-coded method method that we use. And there's two measures. One is the new cases that we have per 100,000 people. That's to try to level things up, so you're looking apples to apples at something. The other measure that you look at is your percent positivity of tests. So these two things combined create what your level of risk is. And this is really indicative of how much virus is circulating, and in particular, this is over a 7-day period. So it's important because it's not just looking at one day or one snapshot, but a few days over time, because we know these numbers can change. Here's a closer picture, and you can see Watauga County there in red. I will say we're looking better in percent positivity among tests that are conducted, but we are still higher than we need to be in terms of cases. So I'll just remind you back here, whoops, right here, if you are looking at your case rates to be high, you're over 100 per 100,000 in the past 7 days. So we are still seeing new case rates at a level that's putting us in high transmission. I do hope that we will continue to see things go down because we have seen improvement. And so I want to make sure I give you all some positive news here. We are trending in the right direction. If you look here, this is a picture of the state dashboard from DHHS. So you can see over time, since the beginning, we saw an uptick and we saw a trend up, then down, and then back up again and down. So we're headed in the right direction downward, and that's where we hope we continue to be. The more people that get vaccinated, the more we hope to see that number go down. I do think it's important to know that we're going into the respiratory virus season more so with the winter months ahead. And so it's really important that we are cautiously optimistic and that we're watching this very carefully because we have seen blips that take us back up. And unfortunately, that has impacted people in a negative way. And this last go round, we've seen more people die from COVID. So this is a picture of our district, and you can see the majority of our cases have been in Watauga County. We have had fewer deaths in Watauga County, but I'll say we've had continued opportunity for people to contract COVID over the last few months, and we've seen more people, unfortunately, succumb to the illness of COVID just in the recent months. So we are still concerned about it. This is a picture of our active cases. So this is the active number of people who've been positive during that week. And this chart sort of begins at the beginning of September, right after Labor Day, and it's by week. And the colors indicate the different age groups. And sorry, the print is kind of small here, but you can see the majority of cases in our district, and I think a lot in our county, is a lot driven by our demographics. So the green represents 18 to 24-year-olds. I'm sure that doesn't surprise anyone here, but that's still the majority of our cases, though that number has declined along with others. We're watching 0 to 5, 6 to 12, and 13 to 17-year-olds. Thankfully, just recently, you all know we are now able to vaccinate children 5 to 11. That's been really important for us to continue to watch because we know that that's so important for those children to be able to be vaccinated. We still don't have an option for children under 5, but thankfully we do at least have started the process with children who are 5 to 11. So the good news here is the trend's going down, and we hope it will continue. Here is a picture of our COVID deaths in North Carolina. I think that's also, if you just recall back the trend of cases, this is usually what we see follow cases increase. Deaths happen later. It's usually right after, but I think that's really important. That's why we're measuring cases, because so far, deaths have been the measure that we see happen after that. So here's a picture that shows you our deaths, and I will say Watauga County unfortunately has had another death, so that number needs to be updated to 40. We continue to see this happen, and I'll just tell you from the data that I see, it's people who have not been vaccinated that we're losing. So the good news here is we are continuing to inch up the number of people who've been vaccinated. In Watauga County, the end of August, we were at a lower rate, so we've gained really 4% since then, and I think it's just a little bit each day. I'm hopeful that we'll see a lot of parents get their children vaccinated with this newest availability for 5 to 11-year-olds. And of course, all the adults that have been thinking about getting a vaccine, we're still encouraging people who have not been vaccinated to get vaccinated. So this is a slide you may have seen me present before, but in case you haven't, I wanted to point it out because it's still really important. I still hear comparisons of COVID and flu, and this is a slide that shows you the comparison between the 2 disease reporting systems for flu and for COVID. And what's really important here is to note the number of deaths we had from COVID from March of 2020 to September 1st of 2021 was over 14,000 people over that 16-month period. If you compare that to the deaths that we know are linked to flu, that was a little over 1,200 people over 10 years. So there's a big difference in the risk involved, and I think that's really critical. That's why we are continuing to promote all the prevention measures, including vaccinations. So, you've probably seen this before. This has been shared by DHHS as well. But the risk to those who are unvaccinated continues to be outlined in national and state data. This latest shows that if you're unvaccinated, you're 20 times more likely to die from COVID than a vaccinated person. So I think that's really important for folks to remember, and we're hoping that more people will ask questions if you have it about vaccinations. That's just so critical. So we have 2 key tools, and I'll just say in public health, we're all about prevention. We know that prevention is really key, helps prevent us from having to be in the midst of response. And we've been in both areas in COVID, and you all have too. So prevention really is linked back to that community transmission that we talked about earlier in this presentation. The CDC really recommends that you have an indoor mask. You're wearing a mask indoors while you're in an area of substantial or high transmission. So we are currently in a high transmission in Watauga County. That's what we are really, continuing to promote. That I know people are trying to wear masks, and surprisingly, I'll just say, I think all of us in public health, we are looking forward to the day that we aren't all wearing masks all the time. And we also want to keep people safe. And we know that masks work, and that's why we're continuing to promote them as a key prevention measure. Another key tool is, of course, we talked about vaccination a lot. That is continuing to be one of the most important things we can do is promoting vaccinations. Screening testing among those who are unvaccinated and anyone who is symptomatic is still a key measure. It's a key way that we prevent further spread because we can find the virus before it spreads to others or spreads to fewer people. And then in response, we also do testing. So when someone's sick, obviously testing is still available, and thankfully we have a lot of options in our community. We're still offering testing at the health department for free. We offer rapid testing and molecular tests every morning from 8:30 to 10. We also do case investigation and contact tracing to try to limit the spread. And of course, we use isolation and quarantine, but ideally, we want to prevent all of that from happening and try to get it before we have exposures that occur. So I'll just mention a couple of things, and this is linked to the Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, which is one of the measures, one of the places that we look when we have a science that we're referring to about different measures that we're trying to see, is this really working, or is this an evidence-based method? We know that there's been a lot of study that's been conducted around mask policies. So this is just one example, and this is related to schools. I think that there are plenty of other studies around masking and the value of masking when you have a higher community transmission and preventing spread. So I'll just leave you there and let you read that if you'd like to in the future. I wanted to mention booster shots because that's still important. For people who have had a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine and it's been 6 months or longer, you can get a booster shot if you would like one, and you can mix up your brand of vaccine if you prefer. We have all three options available at the health department. I know we partner a lot with Food Drug and some of our other pharmacies and other locations, and I think a lot of us are trying to make sure we have all these options available at the hospital and others. If you had Johnson & Johnson, we're really recommending that if you get a booster shot if it's been 2 months or longer, and you can get a Johnson & Johnson booster, or you can get a Pfizer or Moderna booster. And some of the initial data is indicating that Moderna perhaps will be more impactful in terms of your immune response if it's been just based on the current data. Okay, I'll just mention that, and I'll say in Watauga County, we are continuing to promote vaccines for children. Very thankful to Blue Ridge Pediatrics and a lot of our schools in Watauga County for their work to host vaccine clinics, and we have some starting. And I'll also point out, we have this population group, 5 to 11. The Pfizer vaccine is what they are eligible for, and it still has to be given in 3-week increments. So you get dose 1, potentially this week, you wait 3 weeks, you get your second dose, and then you have 2 weeks after that before you're really considered to be fully vaccinated. So we still have an amount of time in our future where it's going to take a little bit more time for that population group to be fully protected. I would say hopefully by Christmas break, we'll see more children protected when they come back to school in January. Okay, I think I've mentioned all of this, but I'll just remind you all, we put out a weekly report. It's posted on our website. You can go there anytime and see it. And of course, we're happy to answer any questions you have. We still have a call center open that's taking calls and able to schedule appointments as well. And I want to end with this to say, I realize everyone is tired and that we all want to get back to normal. We are all anxious for normalcy, and I just want to say I acknowledge that, and I also hope that we don't relax too soon, because what we don't want to see is more people impacted in a negative light. We don't want us to lose people, because we're still working to try to get more people vaccinated, and we know that the prevention measures work. So I'll end there, and also just say, I think you all should know that there's a lot of discussion in the public health community about how we create an environment where COVID is part of our, we're going to have COVID, but we want to make it in a manageable number so it's not disruptive. All of us want to get back to normal. Okay, I'm going to stop there, Shane, and see if you all have questions.
Council, do you have questions for Ms. Green?
Ms. Green, what concerns, if any, do you have if the town lifted the mask mandate before Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays?
Well, I think going back to what I shared, we're still in an area of high transmission. We're walking into a season where it's going to be easier for respiratory viruses to spread, and we have environments where we're going to have more people gathered together. And we also have a percentage of our population that hasn't been fully vaccinated and really won't have an opportunity to be fully vaccinated until close to Christmas, I would say. So that would be my primary concern, because we don't want to see more people impacted because we're lifting up our prevention measures too soon. I do realize we need to have an off-ramp people want to get back to normal. And I also hope that we don't move too quickly.
Ms. Green, this is Charlie Sellers. What is our current positive rate as it stands right now in Watauga County?
Your percent positivity is a little under 3%, which is really good news. I think what's important to note, Mayor Sellers, is that that's showing one measure when we need to look at all of it. And the other piece of that is how many new cases we are continuing to have. And that's still pretty high.
Where are the majority of the cases are we finding at this time?
It's a good question. So if you go back to my slide, 18 to 24-year-olds is still the majority. However, we have a lot of people who are adults in the different age groups, 25 to 49, 50 to 64, who also make up a considerable amount of our cases.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Yes, sure.
And how long have we had that less than 3% positivity rate?
I don't think it's been very long, perhaps a number of days, but not a week, I wouldn't say. That number can be skewed a little bit depending on how many tests have been conducted, how many people have sought testing, and it's why really you don't want to look at any high or real low numbers in isolation. You want to look at a trend over time, which is why we recommend that community transmission level that CDC has.
Ms. Green, Charlie Sellers again. From what I've read across the state, a number of counties, towns have lifted their mask mandates because they achieved goals of less than 5%. Is that correct?
Well, I can't speak to why different municipalities or counties have decided that, but I will say you're right that a goal of under 5% positivity is a good goal to have. That's certainly what we want to see. I do think, again, it's important to look at that in conjunction with the number of new cases that you have too. Just because one measure by itself is not a complete picture of what's going on.
What's the percentage of vaccinated individuals in Watauga County now?
I believe that we have about 54%. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I've been talking so much tonight. No, sorry. We're at 57% fully or partially vaccinated, 53% fully vaccinated.
And I think those 5% were for at least 7 days.
Yes.
I think Mecklenburg was.
They lifted theirs.
They're talking about if it's less than 5% for 7 days, that they would consider lifting the mask mandate.
What was the high positive rate?
Albert Yance wanted to know what was our highest positive rate over the course of the last 18 months. Do you know?
I have to look back, but I remember seeing, percentages in the, high teens consistently. I think it's one of those that can be pretty variable, depending on the week, depending on how many people get tested. So looking at it over time is more important than looking at it in isolation. I would say, we probably saw over 20% at one point, but that number is variable because if you have fewer people get tested, it can drive your number up if a lot of them are positive. We are going in the right direction, and I do want to make sure that I'm being clear about that. We are certainly moving in the right direction. I just think that our cases indicate that we still have a lot of virus transmitted in the community.
How many are hospitalized at Appalachian Regional right now? Do you know?
I should know. I believe we have, if you hold on 1 second, I can tell you. We have a decreasing number in the hospital, which is good. I'm so sorry. Well, the last update I had was this morning, there were 8.
Okay, thank you. Counsel?
Doug Matheson here, Ms. Green. A couple of questions. Would you say that a lot of the high transmission rate is still due to most of the clusters that's at ASU?
I think that certainly we can see that 18 to 24-year-olds are driving some of our cases, but we do have a number of cases that we can't really tie into a cluster. I wouldn't say it's all ASU. I could have said that in the past. We've seen a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds, but the percentage share, the proportion of the 18 to 24-year-olds, it's a little bit more reasonable than it used to be in terms of what proportion of the total cases is 18 to 24-year-olds versus everyone else. It's still a majority, and I do think some of the clusters that you mentioned are certainly linked to those environments, but I don't think that's the whole picture. I certainly think part of it is that we're seeing adults and primarily people who are not vaccinated that we're seeing in the hospital. That's where we're seeing a lot of our cases are people who are not vaccinated.
Other part of that question you may not be able to answer, but could you tell me why the county did not take any action on masks?
So I believe the county does have a requirement in their public buildings for indoor masks. And I guess I would defer to the county manager and county leadership for more information since that's their discussion. But I believe that's still in place for Watauga County.
Y'all good?
Thank you. Ms. Green.
Ms. Green, thank you from all of us. We really appreciate all your hard work and what you and your staff have done over the last many months. And thanks again.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the interest that you all have had. Sincerely, really appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have someone that would like to make a motion? Doug?
I'll make one for discussion part. I'll make a motion that we lift the mask mandate in favor of mask optional, and that any other decisions going forward will still be left up to the town manager as he watches how the numbers change up or down or whatever. We've asked him to kind of take the lead in this anyway, but I would ask that it be lifted.
So your motion is lift the mask mandate and anything having to do with any additional decisions be left up to our town manager, Shane Fox, moving forward. And then he could address council or whatever if he saw need. Is that? Okay. Do we have a second? Do we have a second on Doug's motion? Okay. No second. Okay. Well then, since there's no second, then I guess would someone else like to make another motion or table this to a later date? Wow.
Wow.
It's quiet. What would you like to do? Do what, Albert?
I wouldn't want to, I hate to have to destroy your record of clairvoyance when you're before the cameras. WSOC.
Were they on?
I believe I heard you say that the council was biased toward removing
No, you talking about Channel 9.
Right.
I said that I felt like that the council felt like that it'd be time to remove the mask mandate, and that was the general consensus, and that was strictly my opinion.
Right.
Okay?
But without asking him else.
Well, you and I had talked, Doug and I talked, but I did not address it with Sue nor David.
Let's move ahead with our agenda, please.
Well,
I think that's it.
so this is tabled, is that correct? No decision?
The
No,
motion,
it's not.
died.
There's
I know.
no table.
Okay, all right. So, moving right along, we have completed our agenda for this evening. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you, guys.